Welcome to the Lazy Fluency podcast, where we have casual conversations switching between English and Japanese so that you can learn from and with us along the way. I'm Joey.
And I'm Yami.
And the topic of the day is the Mario movie. Before we get into that, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and drop a review on whatever platform you are listening on. We appreciate the support. And with that out of the way, the Mario movie. So I showed you a trailer of this because you didn't have any idea what was going on. I want to get your general thoughts. For everybody who's listening who doesn't know what we're talking about, recently there was a reveal from Nintendo about the trailer for a new animated Mario movie, as in Mario Bros. As in the video game. I would show it, actually, but Nintendo is very annoying with copyright. So you'll just have to look that up on YouTube. But enough people are talking about it that I feel like people know what I'm talking about. What are your first impressions? Because you don't know very much about Mario, and I'm curious to see what you think.
そうだね。そのマリオのね、ストーリーあんまよくわかってないんだけど、だからどれだけそのゲームの中の、なんていうの？その設定が忠実に再現されてるとかはちょっとわかんないんだけど、でも、見た感じすごい面白そう。なんかゲームわかんない人でも、多分、楽しめる感じじゃないかなっていうのは、ね。
Yeah, what do you think about the poster? They also have a poster. We'll be able to put that image on the screen, actually. Let's use that video feed. But what do you think about the poster of it's in the document?
ちょっと、気のせいかもしれないけど、ジブリ的な要素が入ってる気がする。なんか例えばさ、浮かんでるやつとかさ、浮かんでる、
like
岩みたいなんじゃん。違う。天空の城ラピュタってわかる？
Yeah.
そう。それなのかな？
what is that? I can't remember. Yeah, something. Oh gosh, I can't remember the English name, but yeah.
そうとかさ、そう。あと、なんだろう、街の感じとかお城の感じがちょっとジブリっぽいのかな？わかんない。気のせい
I think that would be キノコのせい。but
キノコのせいか。
No, just making a pun.
キノコのせい。気のせいね、キノコのせいね。
But yeah, fundamentally, basically, the fact that everything doesn't look terrible is the big surprise. So you don't really keep up with video games and history here, but I have a picture of the previous Mario Bros. Movie, which I have on screen here, or not on screen. Or maybe we'll put it on screen, but I'm referring to in our document that I want you to take a look at. So for those who don't know, before this current Mario movie coming out, there was a previous Mario movie. That one was a live action one. It was called Super Mario Bros. I think this was like the 90s or 80s.
1990年。
Yeah. Are you looking at the pictures?
見てるよ。
Yeah, for those audio listeners out there, I mean, although I would recommend a Google, it's a live action Mario movie with, I don't even know how to describe it. Some of the most disgusting looking CGI I think I've ever seen. Bowser looks like his head is about the size of maybe it's smaller than a basketball, maybe a little smaller than a soccer ball, and then his like upper body is massive. So, and he has a weird reptilian, like overly reptilian, but also somewhat humanoid face. It is very disgusting. What are your thoughts on?
クッパのこと？
Oh yeah, that's Bowser. Yeah, Koopa.
バウゼーって言うんだ。そう、あれクッパでやってるよね。
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bowser's Koopa.
そうそう。
The big dude with the spiky back.
かなりのブサイクですね。
Yeah.
かなりのブサイクで、まあ、ね、かわいい、ね、なんかアニメだとさ、ちょっとかわいい要素あるじゃん。悪いやつだけど、かわいい要素があるから、いいんだけど、でもこの実写版だと、ちょっと、なんて言うんだろう。キモブサイクぐらい。キモカワじゃなくてもうキモブサイク。
Yeah. Basically, the reason I'm showing you this is I am always, not just me, but everybody who's like into both video games, anime, pretty much anything Japanese is always gets very concerned when any Japanese intellectual property is turned into a movie, because 99.9999% of the time it is terrible. So I have an example of another instance of this happening. I put the picture there. It's for Dragon Ball Z. Do you know what Dragon Ball looks like with Goku and Vegeta? and
うん。
like
あ、
Dragon Ball.
このね、映画見たことあるよ。この実写版
Oh
の。
God. Oh no. You've seen
まあ、
Dragon Ball Evolution?
確か見たことある。なんか、
Oh
内容、
God.
なんかね、結構
No, but you
昔だっ
haven't
た
seen
から。
Dragon Ball, right? You've just seen
No.
Dragon Ball
アニメは
Evolution.
見たことな
Oh
いんだよ。
God, no. That's terrible
そんなや
news.
ばい。
Yes, it's terrible. Okay. So if that's even worse. I'm assuming you probably didn't think of much of it, but
まあなん
what,
か
yeah,
なん
what are
か
your
なんだっ
thoughts on
け、
Dragon Ball Evolution?
結構昔だよね。なんか、10、10年、10年ぐらい前、結構前だよね。でさ、あん
Yeah,
ま
no, this
覚
is
えて、
old, older.
うん。
Yeah,
あんま覚えてないんだけど、なんか、玉を集めんだっけ。なんか
yeah.
星が
The
1個、
dragon.
2個。
Those are the Dragon Balls. Yeah.
ドラゴンボールなんだ。そう、それ、星が全部で何個あるかわかんないんだけど、1、
Seven.
2、3、7か。7個集めないといけないんだっけ。
Yeah, if you get seven together, then you can get a wish from the great dragon Shenron.
ああ。
Yeah,
まあ、それ
but
はね、伝わったけど、まあ、実際そう、アニメ見たことない
if
か
you
ら
haven't
さ、
seen the
どれ、
original or the manga, you wouldn't know how terrible it is. But this is considered to be even like movie critics and other stuff like one of the worst films ever made. Just period. Just straight up terrible. Basically I mean, you haven't seen it, but all the effects in typical Dragon Ball or like anything in anime, they're very exaggerated. It's very like high energy. Obviously they got all that wrong in terms of effects. All of the like the key or like energy based effects that they were using kind of looked like just gusts of wind. So it didn't look like anything was actually happening. Obviously terrible acting, terrible story.
Terrible acting
Nothing of it was,
は
and by terrible I mean it was not only like completely unrelated to this, barely related to the source material, but I mean they also got all the characters wrong in terms of the personalities and type. I'm not going to go too into it because you aren't familiar with it. But for example, Goku is in the actual story is a warrior basically from birth. He like as a kid he was very strong, independent even as a kid. He's always into fighting. He's always been into training and self-improvement. In the movie Dragon Ball Evolution, he is an angsty teenager going to high school.
高
He's
校
like
生なの。
yeah, and he's just he acts like a sad boy. And then his grandpa has to basically convince him to save the world, and it's just awful. But anyways, there's some context. There are many more terrible examples, whether it be Dragon or what's it called, Death Note. There was a Death Note live action movie. Death
あ、
Note.
日本でも、デスノートの、ドラマはあったよ、ライブアクションの。
Yeah, I don't know if that one was bad or not, but given that every live action is pretty terrible, I would also assume that one's probably pretty bad as well. But just to have some oh, go ahead. Sorry. Were you saying something?
あれ、そもそもさ、だって二次元だよね、まあ、アニメは。二次元のものをさ、ライブアクションにしようという時点でさ、次元が違うからさ、そもそも難しくなるって。
Well, it happens so often. Like even now, Netflix is like announcing, I think they want to do Yu Yu Hakusho, which is the same thing in Japanese. It's like it's an older school shonen manga and anime into a live action. I think they also wanted to do if they didn't actually do Rurouni Kenshin, Rurouni Kenshin.
Ah, Rurouni.
Yeah, and they're also doing a one for Hagane no Renkinjutsushi or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. If you've heard that before, but basically all of them are bad. The only live action movie I've ever heard that is even okay is Bakuman, which is it's a show about making manga, like writing manga and mangaka, and it's not actually very like crazy. It's all very down to earth.
あ、それのさ、主人公ってもしかして人間じゃない？
Yeah. No, they're all human for Bakuman. It's just super simple. So that's why it works. That's the only live action that I've ever heard is good. But in terms of bad live actions, you have everything. Ghost in the Shell, Death Note. Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm not sure if you know about that one.
あ、知ってる。結構、みんな好きじゃないそのアバターなんとかかんとかってやつ。
Yeah. It's not anime, but it's anime adjacent property. Yeah, and people really, I really like Avatar as well. And so that's all a lot of history behind this. And I guess I should also mention that recently another big movie, that game turned movie that actually was somewhat successful would be Sonic. I put a link there. I think, where is it? It should say Sonic movie, so you can click it if you want to see it. But you probably have seen this or ads of this where they made a live action Sonic movie.
ああ、まあ、聞いたことあるよ。この、
Yeah,
結構
with
これ
Jim
さ、流行
Carrey.
ってな、ん
With Jim Carrey, he's Eggman, the
あ、
actor.
これジムキャリーなんだ。
Yeah.
へえ。まだ見たことないんだけど、あ、2020年か。
Yeah, so this is
そう
very
そうそ
recent.
う。まだ見たことないんだけど、ジムキャリーがやってるからいいんじゃない
Well,
ジムキャリー信者
yeah,
だから。
so that's one of the there's a balance of many things. There's a lot of the reasons that fans of the original source material don't like movies like this are because they tend to not focus on the actual source content. They tend to put very low level mass appeal jokes, and they tend to kind of mischaracterize characters or change the world completely so that it's not similar. And they also tend to just jam in a bunch of celebrities. So in the Sonic movie, apparently it's like much. So here's the thing. I don't think anybody actually thinks it's a good movie, but it's so much better than every other. Like the bar is so low with these adaptation movies that having something that is not terrible comes off as looking like a masterpiece. And so that's the context of like people like me and other fans when we come looking at these movies. And so when I saw this trailer for the new Mario movie, my mind was just exploded. So before the trailer, here I want you to read the cast. If you click on this IMDb link, it says the cast, so you can know who's in this movie, because I don't think you've seen it before. For like what voice actors, you'll probably recognize a lot of them.
クリス
Yeah, so going from the top,
誰
Chris Pratt, he's in Guardians of the Galaxy. Have you seen that?
あ
That's the main
あ
character.
へえ
Chris Pratt. Anya Taylor-Joy. I think that person was in the Queen's
クイ
Gambit.
ーンズ・ギャンビット。そうそう、クイーンズ・ギャンビ
Yep.
ット。
Charlie Day. Charlie Day is the only, I think, actual voice actor in this entire list, like as in solo voice actor, and he's the original voice of Luigi. But Jack Black, obviously, you know Jack Black, Kung Fu Panda, Nacho
カン
Libre.
フーパンダ
Yeah, so I guess
Oh.
he does do some voice work, but I don't think he's not a primarily voice actor. Keegan-Michael Key. So Keegan-Michael Key started actually on YouTube, on College Humor, and so he's gotten much bigger. You've probably seen the person he worked with, Peele. I can't remember what's his name, other than it's like Key and Peele, but the other dude that he used to work with made movies like what is the name? It literally just came out. Nope. I'm not sure in Japan if they have that.
わかんない。
Well, he makes horror films. That's beside the point.
あ
And then so anyways, when they released this information, they showed a bunch of celebrity casts. So like, just keep in mind, as a fan, when I'm watching this, I'm like, please no celebrity casting. Please a studio that actually cares about the source material. These are the things that I want. Like, please show me that you guys actually want to make something good. And they released this. They go, we're going to spam a bunch of celebrities into it. And the studio that's doing it, I was like, oh, at least it's going to be an animated movie. And I'm like, so just so you know, my least favorite animation studio of all time is Illumination Studios. The studio that is working on this movie. Illumination Studio. You know the other movies they've made, which is Minion movies. They're responsible for Despicable Me and the entire series.
はいはい、よくジョイはミリオン嫌いっていう話をよくするんだけどね。日本だとね、めちゃめちゃ人気なんだよ、ミニオン。 なんか、英語圏の人はミニオン嫌いだけど、日本人はすごい好きで、ユニバーサルスタジオ、大阪にあるね、USJ は、ミニオンの、なんていうんだ、ミニオンエリアがあるのね。だから、そういうのも出るぐらい、あるぐらい、みんなミニオン大好きだから、ね、もう、
I think it's because... Go ahead, sorry.
子供も多分大人も好きなんだよ。だって、そう、みんな好きだから、はい。
I mean, my personal opinion is in Japan, it's because they just turn their brains off and they're like, oh, it's cute. They just go, kawaii! And that's it. And they turn it off. For anybody who still likes using their brain and not just going kawaii, no shade towards Japan, but shade towards Japan. In my opinion, Minions are an abomination on animation. They are like a slap. So if you probably don't know this, but Illumination Studios, the reason they became so big was because the whole goal from the very beginning of the studio was to make animation as cheap as possible. They wanted to make big budget movies as cheap as possible. And you're like, oh, but I like their... I'm hoping you don't like their movies, but maybe people think, oh, I like their movies. They have all these fun, extremely simple design, like Minions. Think about what they do. They get one 3D model, and duplicate it 1 billion times. And then that's... No, yeah, I know, but they take the base model. That's why, like, their whole thing is about making a really cheap film. And you can see that in a lot of their films with all these massive characters. Or like even in the trailer, when you saw all those penguins, I was watching people's reactions who were scared about seeing all those penguins because they're like, oh no, Minions.
Penguin?
Yeah, in the Mario trailer where they throw the snowball.
Ah.
When they have like hundreds of them. So,
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's Illumination Studios. They're the ones scooting. Well, they're doing it with Nintendo. And so, but they're doing it with Nintendo, and that gave me some hope. And obviously, with what we've seen so far. So I was coming from an extremely pessimistic perspective. I expected this to be completely terrible, probably one of the worst films of all time. And I was blown away by the trailer. So that was like, yeah, I didn't even expect that. I think a lot of people didn't expect that. So that's like the full context of my reaction on this. Do you have any, I don't know if you know, like, are friends with anybody who's into Mario or has talked about this, but have you heard any conversations about this Mario movie?
いや、最近あんま話さないから。ちょっとめっちゃ暗い話になってたけど。あんま人と話さないから。で、このマリオのムービーの話題はなかったね。
What do you think about like the voice acting and stuff? Or the...
何その、芸能人が声優やってるっていうの。日本で結構あるよ。なんか例えばさ、ジブリってやっぱりまあ、日本だとね、すごいんだけど、ジブリのその、主人公とか、誰々がその主役の声優やりますっていうか、結構あるよ。例えば、ハウルの動く城だったらさ、なんだっけ、Moving Castle？Howl's
Moving Castle。
そうそうそう。だと、キムタク、日本のまあ、アイドルだね。ジャニーズの。キムタクがやってたりとか。そう、普通のなんか、有名な俳優さんがそういうね、声優やってるのは結構あるから、まあ別にいいんじゃないかなとは思うけど。まあ、どうなの？キャラクターに声が合ってなかったらちょっとね、あれだけど。
But I will say the reason that people like me don't like it is because it's not just having a famous person voice a character. It is, we are going to slam, like, this famous person is going to is not just like, this character is that, this actor is that character. It's not like this actor is playing a character. It's more of like they're just inserting this person into that movie. So like anytime Dwayne The Rock Johnson, for example, is in any movie, he is cast as Dwayne The Rock Johnson. He's always like a jungle dude with safari hat. Do you know Dwayne The Rock Johnson? The really big buff dude. Yeah. And he plays that guy, which is himself, in every movie. In every movie, it's always like, oh, that's the big tough guy. Like, don't mess with Dwayne, but then he's also a little funny. And with
そうだね。
animation,
ジュマンジとか。うんうんうん。
yeah, and they literally, or like even in Guardians of the Galaxy, they did this somewhat with some other characters, but that's a whole other
ああ、
conversation
へえ。
where they like, I'm saying like, I'm fine with famous people voice acting if they're actually voice acting. They're playing another character, and it is clear that they're actually good at the job they're doing, and they're not just there to be advertising, because that's kind of what ends up happening with a lot of the time is they're just advertising. And I think we have mentioned this before or something, but yeah, in Japan or in the US, voice actors or traditional voice actors don't tend to be people who draw people into movies. And so one of the other complaints that people like myself are having, I'm not a huge fan of Chris Pratt's Mario, even from listening to this. He doesn't sound like Mario in any version of it. He just sounds like a generic protagonist. And not saying that Mario doesn't have that in him as well, but he just doesn't sound like Mario. He just sounds like, what is this place? I'm like, what? That's not Mario.
You can do that too じゃん。
Yeah, he just seems like some random, it could be anybody. Or it could be Sonic, or it could be any, but like, yeah, when you're not taking primarily voice actors who are good at acting, and instead you're saying, hey, we can get these big names and then make them voice act. Are they voice actors? No, but they're famous. In Japan, voice acting is actually something that people look up to. And so even people who I really like in voice acting, like, what's the name? Mamoru Miyano, or is it Miyano Mamoru? I'm not sure. I actually don't know which one sounds like a first name, which one sounds like a last name.
あ、守は、名前の方ね。
Mamoru first? Yeah, okay, first name. So yeah, Miyano Mamoru. He's one of my favorite voice actors, and I'm assuming he's pretty famous in terms of voice acting, but he's always does an incredible job. So even when I notice he's a voice actor, I still forget about the character he's playing, because I'm like, he just does a really good job. But when I listen to, for example, Chris Pratt as Mario, I'm like, oh, that's Chris Pratt as Mario. That's not Mario. That's Chris Pratt as Mario. Jack Black, though, I think did a really good job with Bowser. Even though it was clearly it's Jack Black. Jack Black is the guy who did Koopa.
うんうんうんうん。なるほどね。まあ、いやでもやっぱりさ、なんだろう。無名、まあこのマリオはみんな知ってるけどさ、無名の、なんだ、アニメとかやるときはさ、やっぱり芸能人がさ、声優やってると、それだけ人は見るからね。まあ宣伝になるっていうのもあるからね。まあどれだけ。
Well, yeah, in my opinion, the people who go to watch a movie, see, this is my hipster side. The people who go to a movie just because of that aren't people who are even interested in the genre of animation to begin with. Or they probably, those people probably like Minions. Like, you could show them like just a turd on a screen and then just slap like Dwayne The Rock Johnson and say he makes a cameo 20 minutes in the film, and everybody would go watch it. So I don't really care what people who don't appreciate movies have to think about movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's where I'm like, yeah, I know, but from a business perspective, which is a problem with capitalism, that they're like, ooh, it doesn't actually matter if the movie's good. It's all about, once we've got, think about it this way. Movies make money before you've actually know what you're going to get, which is, you know what I'm saying? You pay and then you can have a terrible experience, but they don't care. They've already gotten you to pay. So as long as they trick you to get through, it's like, whatever. They came here because of Keegan, I don't know about Keegan-Michael Key, but they came here because of Jack Black, but the movie's terrible.
あれじゃん。口コミっていうのもあるからさ。Word of mouth, right?
Word of mouth? Yeah.
Word of mouth. そうそう。だから。
Well, most money's made, I think, during like the first 2 weeks of release, though. So like, and who's not going to want to watch the first Mario animated movie?
まあね、確かにね。最初だったら絶対見るもんね。
Even I mean, after seeing this, I'm like, I'm tempted, but I still probably gonna be bad. But if it's actually like a legitimately good movie, I'll be blown away. Right now, I'm expecting a good movie with good production that is either mediocre or slightly better than mediocre, which is huge. That's normally I expect one of the worst movies of all time. So.
まあ楽しみにね。あれまだ公開されてないんだっけ？
Yeah, no. I'm not sure when it releases. But yeah, let us know if you
だ
guys will be. Oh yeah, let us know if you guys will be watching the Mario movie, or your thoughts on. I think we did talk about adaptations. I believe at some point. Maybe we haven't actually, but whatever. Let us know if you're gonna watch the Mario movie or what your thoughts were on the trailer. I don't think this was too specific. Yeah.
Hi, we're back.
Baku.
Yeah. So in this section, we're gonna talk about life updates. So, should I start first?
どうぞ。
Okay. So, as you can see, if you're watching a YouTube video, I am recording on a hammock today.
やったー。
Yay! Yeah, it's so comfortable. So yeah, like in the last episode, I think I told that I bought a hammock. So, and
そういう話
this arrived like 2 days ago, and oh no, was it yesterday?
そう、
Well,
昨日。
yeah. Anyways, yeah, yesterday. So yeah. So this is so good. Like you can sleep on it and you can study on it, and it's really relaxing. Yeah.
もともとそれは外のためでしょ、ハンモックは。
I don't know.
なんかうちで使わない方がいいと一応思ってるんだけど。
Yeah, but like if you have like a poles to hang this hammock, then it works.
うん。でも一応こういう感じでやろうかと思ってたんだけど。
Yeah.
どうですかみんな。ハンモックの画像を楽しんでるのでしょうか。
But yeah. So about the life updates, I was on this clinical practice, the entire week, last week, and I got to see this local clinic. Yeah. So there was only one doctor and
あ、そうなの？
So, yeah. 3 nurses and 3 receptionists. Yeah, receptionist.
マジで小さいね、それ。
Yeah. It's just
私も思ったのはなんかローカルはまあローカルだけど日本では必ず大きいと思ってたんだけど。
No, it's not a hospital, it's a clinic. Yeah.
A clinic.
Yeah.
詳しくその違いわかんないけど。
A clinic is usually owned by one doctor and sometimes 2 doctors. And
そうか。
Yeah. So. Like private
医者一人っ
private
て
clinic.
やばい。
Yeah, but yeah, so out there, I can't say the place, but yeah, out there, I saw many patients, like more than 100.
あ、すごい。
Yeah.
あ、1日で？
No. Like one day, I guess it was around 50 to 60 patients.
あ、いや、そのクリニックはマジでやばい。医者一人がなんかかわいそう。
Yeah.
かわいそう。
Like so in the morning, so it starts at 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. and usually, the doctor said usually he sees 30 patients in the morning.
なんか人当たりの時間はどのぐらい？
5 to 10 minutes.
アメリカより少ない。アメリカではいつも15分ぐらい。
But like if it's just like a prescribing medicine or just like telling the test results, then it's gonna be like 5 minutes or so. But if you take physical exams, like for example X-ray or like how to say bowel camera.
Intestinal camera かな。
Yeah, camera or something. Then it takes like 10 to 50 minutes. So it depends, but yeah, on average 10 to 15 minutes.
望ましくない人生それ医者
No,
ま
but
あその 自分がやってる仕事はかなり大事ってわかるよね。なんかその医者いなくまあもちろんいなくならない方がいいんだけど、亡くなったら
yeah,
みんなどうするだろ
yeah,
う。
I
医
don't
者
know.
一人がいるなんて
Yeah.
最
And
悪。
especially, yeah, he said, so the place I went, it had about, なんだっけ1万人 or 5万人 ?1 万人かな Yeah, 1万人
10,000 people?
population. Yeah. And there are only 5 doctors there, like clinics.
マジで
So he's, yeah.
やばい。
But yeah. But there's
大変だよそれ。
yeah.
な
Big
なんか
hospitals
その
nearby.
政府からお金もらうのこの5人の医者。
No, I don't think so.
でなんでなんかなんていうか小さい町だと必ず医者いないとやばいよね。
Yeah.
それでこの5人の人はプライベートでやってるの？
Yeah, private, I guess. Yeah.
パブリックの病院とかないの？
Well, there's my university's hospital like nearby, so but it takes like 30 minutes by car to get here, so
うん。まあ大変すぎるそれ。
yeah.
まあなぜか
Yeah.
その他の話についてちょっと気になってるんだけど、 その
So
寝
yeah,
たき
so
りの話。
yeah, he also sees how do I say 在宅医療
I think
ん
outpatients
outpatients.
out
Yeah.
like 外。
So yeah, exactly. So like patients who can't come to the clinic, he goes to the house and then like do like a regular check or something.
でもそれは
So
時間かかるでしょ。人当たりはなんか15分だったらどうやってそんなことでできるの？
well, so he had only 1 hour to visit houses to see patients, and he sees 1 to 2 patients a day. Yeah, during that 1 hour. So yeah, per one person, it takes 15 to 30 minutes. So yeah. And
1日でどのぐらい働くのこの人は？
I don't know.
なんか10
Like
時
in
間
the
以上、
evening, he
12時間。
No, I don't think so. He finishes his work at 5 or 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Yeah.
9時から6時まで。
Yep.
まあアメリカの一般的のなんていうか働く時間より長いんだけど、
Oh, really?
そんなにそう8時
It's
間は
not-
普通。
I don't think that's that long.
まあ
But like it's a Japanese working culture, so yeah.
自由時間がないことって普通だよね。まあ10時間ちょっとあるかも。その4時間と朝の方。でもとりあえずそのなんか寝たきりの状態については、まあ寝たきりというのはそのベッドから出られない。その自分でまあ頑張って生活しなくちゃいけないけど、このあゆみがこの話した時に私がなんかなんていうか失礼な発言かもしれないと思うんだけど、どうやってそんなような生活ができるかということについてちょっと考えた。なんか私だったとか、私がまあ足折れたというのもあったんだけど、それぐらいまあ多分1週間ぐらいあまりよく歩けなかったんだから、それは大変だったと思ってたんだけど、その本当にベッドから 出られなかったらどうしようか。
Yeah, but those people, live like that for years. Since they have like diseases or 後遺症 I don't know how to say 後遺症 like after a major disease and you have this 後遺症
漢字は何？その後遺症の漢字は何？
後ろに遺産の
side effects.
side effect side effect はあれ副作用じゃない？
そう、副作用。
But yeah, 後遺症は、like if you suffer from like brain stroke or something, then you can't move after the surgery or something.
Oh, so it's more like severe long-term side effects or something?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, so those people, they can't walk and they can't stand. So yeah, they need this kind of doctor to,
でも多分その予約なんか多分たくさん待たなくちゃいけないよね。その一人しかいないから。
Yeah, I guess, but like he visits houses regularly, so like once per once per 1 month per person. So I don't know how busy. Yeah.
でもこの患者さんは91歳とかそのような人がたくさんいるでしょ。
over 90. Yeah.
それでなんか1ヶ月につき1回とかは結構足りないかもしれない。
Yeah, I thought so, but he said, it's okay. Just visits, her like once in a month. So,
このような人がいるとすごくなんか助かる。
Yeah, exactly.
私できないけど、一応感謝してる。その他のエピソードではこういう高齢化についての問題について話したんだけど、このような状況はだんだん悪くなる気がする。その医者が少なくて、年寄りがたくさんいるってこと。
Japan, that's Japan's future, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. And what did you have this week?
一番大事なことはこの最初のエピソードのマリオの映画。他の、多分他のセクションについてちょっとだけアニメの話するから、そのセクションで話すかもしれない。今週で起こったこと。
はい。
And we're back with the final section. Yay. And if you've reached the final section, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com you know what? Not even write an Apple review, please, if you're enjoying this podcast. We appreciate it. We want more people to enjoy this podcast. Apparently, Apple Podcasts are important. I actually don't know how true that is, but apparently it is. So we'd appreciate it if you wrote an Apple podcast if you enjoy this show. You know what? Even if you don't listen to it on Apple and you listen to it on Spotify, if there's somewhere to write a review, I'm not sure if there is, but if there is, write a review. And this week, we have a new question.
Yep.
Lots of questions, actually. And so on we will go. I'll read it. Decently long little comment here. Let's go. Hey, let me start by saying I love your podcast. Thank you. I barely finished Genki 1, so it's somewhat above my level. But I still find it thoroughly enjoyable and interesting, and I've already managed to pick up some Japanese from it as well. It's a great format and really helps with comprehension. Ironic that I messed that up. I had some comments about previous episodes because I'm binging from the start. They're kind of irrelevant by now, but I'll write them down anyways. Regarding different verbs for wearing items, I thought to add that in Hebrew, which is not my native language, but for the sake of argument, let's say it is, since I acquired it at a relatively early age, there are very specialized verbs for putting on a hat, shoes, socks, jewelry, scarf, coat, belt, and uniform. So 3 verbs is a breeze. Though granted, nobody uses them in day-to-day conversation, and everybody just says wear for everything, much like Ayami said about suru. So I think how we'll tackle this is we'll just tackle each one of these things by themselves because they're, I think, 4 different questions. So I can't remember what Ayumi said about suru all the way back
う
in
ん、
that
覚えてないけ
episode.
どね。ほら。
But oh no, it was probably something along the lines of if you're ambiguous about verbs in Japanese, you can always just say the noun and add suru at the end.
ああ、確かにね、運動するとかね。
Yeah, or we were saying like earlier about what was it? Something
わからない。
gaidi, like to
何
turn
がいり
over in your hammock. Negairi?
ああ、寝返りする
Yeah,
ああ、
negairi. Yeah, and you can just add suru at the end if you're ever unsure
そ
about
う
how
だ
to
ね。
conjugate something. But
う
yeah,
ん。
well, that's interesting. There, I'm not sure what else to say about that. I don't know anything about Hebrew, and there are many a question. So move on, we will. Would Joey be interested in ranking his all-time favorite anime and also defending each choice? That is, unless you think it'd be utterly boring to other listeners. I personally think I don't actually know how many people are into anime. Fun fact, I used to run an anime-centered YouTube channel, and I actually enjoyed doing so, but college came in the way. Haven't really uploaded since. Maybe I'll make something more about anime later. So in terms of that conversation, I like talking about anime, and we probably will regarding your next question. But with this question specifically, in terms of my all-time favorite rankings, I don't know. Probably not. Maybe we'll see. I mean, what are your thoughts?
何が
Do we have anime fans in this? How many anime fans do you think we have? Do you have any?
半分ぐらいいいんじゃない
50%?
あるね。
I do know that a lot of people who I see like learning Japanese from 101 tend to be anime fans, but turns out the higher you get, the more the anime fans drop out.
あ、そうなんだ。
Yeah, it's hilarious. In my school, it was from 101 to 102, it was common for over half the class to have dropped out, and it was always the anime fans. And I primarily think that probably has to do with they like get really excited about thinking they're going to do something like watch anime, and then they actually have to like listen, I don't know, like learn the language, and they're like, oh, kanji is difficult, and then they just bounce.
あー、アニメが好きなほど、あんまり出来は良くないと。
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons probably, but that's a whole separate conversation. But this next question, because it's anime related. On that note, do you have any recommendations for anime to immerse with that is somewhat suitable for an advanced beginner level? This question I will answer because this one I think can be helpful. I mean, do you actually have any? You don't watch that much anime as well, but I do think you would know like children's anime and other stuff like that, which would be helpful. Like, are there any popular Japanese anime that you think?
そうだね。コナン、Detective Conan?
Yeah, Detective Conan.
とかはまあ好きだったよ。めっちゃ好きだった。あ、でもレコメンデーションっていうか、私の個人的な好き嫌いなだけだからね。
Oh, that's
それがいい
fine.
かどうかわかんないけど。まあ。
Okay, well, yeah. Ghibli.
ドラえもん
You
と
like
か。
Ghibli. Ghibli's
ジブ
a
リね。
recommendation. Yeah.
ジブリちょっと難しいんじゃない？だってさ、難しい言葉とかある
Yeah,
じゃん。
depending on the
昔のね。
movie, it can be difficult.
そう、もののけ
for
姫と
Ghibli.
かめっちゃむずいよ、多分。
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah, I realized that as well. Like, I watch everything like raw is what you would call it, but without any subtitles. And I normally don't notice any problem, but I watched Mononoke Hime, so Princess Mononoke, and I realized that they use a lot of like both old kind of to have a specific world and setting that feels old and ancient. They tend to use either old or out of use terms, or sometimes very fantastical, or just use like dialects, and multiple dialects, but depending on different clans. And so that was present in Mononoke Hime, which made it more difficult to understand.
大丈夫、私も分かってないから。
But in terms of beginners anime, I actually do have, or advanced beginner level. I do have fairly. I'm going to do in categories. I think generally speaking, slice of life as a genre is great for learning. It's more like dialogue focused around general like what do you call everyday conversation.
Hmm.
I would stay away from sci-fi. I would stay away from anything related to war. Those tend to be very filled with jargon in my personal experience. Sports anime are also really good. Aside from like obviously the terminology of the sport, which you can like infer what they're talking about. Everything else is pretty standard. So if you like anything in those genres, I would highly recommend it. But and then as you get more comfortable with that, then I think I actually wouldn't, even though people watch shonen, like people talk about shonen manga and all that stuff all the time, I don't actually think those are the most helpful because they tend to be the most heavily loaded with jargon. But the problem is the jargon isn't even jargon in the sense that it's used in some field. It's most of the time made up for that show. Like think Naruto. Think of all your Rasengan if you've seen Naruto. All the like Chidori, all these made up like attack names that aren't, they're just for the show. All the clans names, all the attack names, all the location names, people's names in general. Naruto, nobody has that name. That literally means a spiral thing that like in the center of like ramen food. Yeah. So slice of life. Like almost anyone is totally fine. Whether it be like what's the, oh my, I forgot what the name of it. It's a popular one nowadays. Oh, come on.
Sazae-san?
Well,
違う?
No, not Sazae-san. No, he has to be entertaining first. It's what is it? It's like Koi no Zuno-sen. What is it? Oh my gosh, this is killing me.
Man, I can't help it.
Yeah, no, it's a comedy. It's a comedy anime with about trying to, oh god, how Kakayaki Hime? No, whatever. This is embarrassing. I cannot remember it. Very famous anime. I'll move on. Let's go. Just choose a genre, and then a show that you like. Oh, Kaguya-sama. Thank God.
Kaguya-sama なんだっけ、kokura setaiか。
Yeah, Kaguya-sama. Yeah, kokura setai. Yes. Zuno-sen, I think, is like the subheader if they have like a battle of minds. But yeah, Kaguya-sama. If you want to go even more, like I think like, what is the name? Takagi-sama no Karakaitai or something. There's like, it's just this show about a dude trying to like mess with like this other girl in his class. It's very like chill and it's easier to understand. Yeah, so those are my general recommendations. I mean, if you leave a comment or whatever, like YouTube or wherever, comment, I'll give you like an actual set list of them because I'm always down to talk anime. I'm just trying to avoid it because I don't know how many people like anime. Let me know if you like anime. Yeah. Joey, what's it called? Although I don't talk anime, like I said, I ran a channel, so I would like to think I'm fairly informed about anime. Anyways, Joey, how is it that you've yet to rant about counters? Or maybe you have and I haven't gotten to it yet. If not, I can help with that. I believe we did rant about counters. I wish I knew what episode.
2とかだよね。
Yeah. I swear, because I remember talking about a school of fish. And
それさ、あれ first episode じゃなかったっけあれ。
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think you're right. Is that the first episode?
Yeah, first episode だよ。だから多分さ、見てるんじゃないか?
Maybe. Yeah, I think Amy's right. I think that might have been the first episode.
Yeah. 多分ね、first だった気がするよ。And
then the last comment this person had, which is, oh, never mind. She has the more questions. Let's go. Also, I haven't listened to the metric system episode yet, but you're wrong. Listen to the episode, please.
You're wrong. That's
what I'll say, although I expect a response like that. And then lastly, because I'm just trying to keep things moving here, given what you talked about in the last episode about Japan's isolated tendencies, are Japanese people interested in interacting with foreigners at all? Do they view outsiders as these clumsy, weird-looking people who mostly fetishize their culture and are in the way? How does that coincide with how influenced Japan seems to be by Western, especially American culture? Do you have any thoughts about this, Ayami?
いやー、これもめっちゃティピカルジャパニーズのなんだけどさ、人によるんじゃないか。人によります。まあ、でも、まあ、ね結構ね、保守的な人だとあんまなんか話したくないとかあるんじゃない？あと、英語できないとか思っちゃうと、ちょっとね、遠ざけちゃうっていうのもあるし、まあ、 たまにさ、なんか、見てて、なんか、ちょっと大丈夫かなっていう人いるじゃん。外国人でなんか、I love 東京みたいな。typical tourist とかで。
Well,
まあ、
people,
それはそ
from
れ。
my experience, Japanese people like that.
まあ
Like in
ね。
America, if we see that, we're like, oh, that's cringy. That's very touristy. They're not actually, but in
うん。
all my experience with Japanese people, they like when you're like a weeb or like you're overly like love Japan. I feel like that comes from like an intrinsic nationalistic pride. They're like, you should love Japan.
まあね、
個人的に。
それに、それ見た時には、痛いわとか思わないから、まあ別にいいんじゃないか。クラムジーではないと思うけど。うん。ね。
Yeah. I mean, my quick takes on this, just because we're starting to get pretty long, and I have one more quick thing to wrap up the episode that I want to get to, is I personally think that the majority of people probably don't think about it, and they basically just see somebody who likes their culture, and Japanese people like Japan, and then they're
あ、
just
嬉しいと
positive
思うよ。
about that whole
うん。
interaction.
うん。
So it's because you have to keep Japan is like its own world, sort of. A lot of people don't ever even think about on a daily basis any other location other than Japan or any language other than Japanese. And like with it's I know how it can seem like contradictory with them having so much Western influence, but I would kind of say that they don't really view the stuff that is Western, that comes from the West, as Western, like imported things that they're enjoying in a Western way. For example, like in America, if you're watching a Japanese, Spanish, German, whatever movie, you want to watch it in that language, or at least there's like a vibe that you want to do that. In Japan, it's not like that. They will put on straight Japanese dubbing over something and they won't even think about it. They'll just do it. And like, I feel like in Japan, they'll take what aspects they like from a culture and then Japanify it, and then therefore it's no longer Western. It is Japanese to them. It's kind of like if you ask, you can look on YouTube whether it's like, do Japanese people think anime characters are Japanese or not white or something? And everybody's like, yeah, dude, that guy's totally white. You're like, bro, Naruto's hair is blonde. He's blue eyes. That he can't be white or he can't be Japanese, but it never crosses anybody's mind.
そうね。だって日本語喋ってんじゃん。
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even though it's funny
え、
because Japanese people don't actually consider you speaking Japanese makes you Japanese. And we talked about this last week, but like, it's a whole other separate conversation. Do you have any thoughts before I go to the very last thing?
まあいいや、とりあえずなんかまだあるっぽいからいいや。うん。
Yeah. So, sorry, I guess this has been a little bit of a mess, but we've had a lot of questions. So sometimes it'd be like that. I'm going to quickly get through this because this is a follow-up that something maybe our runners, which we happen to have a fair amount listening to this podcast, probably curious about, which is the barefoot running and whether it's possible, especially for a marathon. So this is a follow-up from our MVP VIP commenter Shockox. So I'll just read it really quickly. I did have shin splints in the deep past. Oh, sorry. Cheers from Tel Aviv. Ina, that was the comment from the last comment. It's cool, yeah, to get comments. Yeah.
イナさんありがとうございます。
Yeah,
イ
thank
ナ
you
で合
so
ってんの
much.
かな。うん。
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. But yeah, so Shaka's comment. I did have shin splints in the deep past, but I haven't in a while. With barefoot shoes, basically shoes with zero support, a wide toe box, and a few millimeters between my foot and the ground, my muscles have grown quite a bit to support themselves in my body, so I'm less worried about the muscle pain there. I've been running in those since the spring, and it did feel like death in my first 3-mile run, but now they feel more comfortable than actual running shoes. I've actually ran shorter distances, 1.5 miles, without shoes on asphalt. Yikes. And you're absolutely right about the feet shredding. I already got a bit of callus on there, but definitely not 26 miles worth of callus, so that's a work in progress. Mostly short runs and walking my dog without shoes on. I think it is something that will shred me a bit no matter how much I prepare for it. But if I can get like 15 miles before starting to see blood, I'll call that a success. A 100-mile race is pretty similar. I can prepare well, but even if you're Zach Biter, which is the 100-mile record holder, you're still going to hurt a lot at mile 70, and you're still going to need some recovery time after the 100. But it's in the realm of possibility. People are out there doing 250 miles and whatnot. Thanks for the comment, Shockox.
ありがとうございます。
Isn't there a way you can just run it not on concrete or asphalt if you're going to run a marathon?
どういうこと？
So he's saying that you can develop like a callus and then you're going to bleed, but you just kind of have to get over it. And I'm thinking, can't you just run on dirt instead for a marathon and just avoid having to have bloody feet?
ディートの ルートだったらいいんじゃない？ルートによるんじゃない？どういうこと？
Maybe it's just that he just wants to run an official marathon. Well, he's thinking about running a marathon barefoot, which means I think he's probably wants to run an official marathon, and maybe they just don't have. Maybe you should look. I mean, maybe Shawcock's already looked this up. Do they have barefoot marathons? Maybe that's a thing.
なんか
Like on the dirt.
祭りでなんかフェスティバルとかでありそうじゃない？なんかさ。
Yeah, like on dirt,
たまに
and maybe avoid the whole bleeding feet thing, and developing like 3 inches of callus on your foot.
やばいね。でもまあオフィシャルのマラソンとかだと大体さコンクリートじゃない？だって
Yeah, or pavement.
ちゃんとしたルートがあるってことだからさ。そう整備されてるじゃん。ちゃんとしてるのは。
Yeah. But what I know from cross country, for example, is a lot of it is on dirt and grass. It's cross country, like, yeah, and they'll run loops around a trail. So, like, personally, if I was going to do this, I would do trail running, and not, because it's brutal. Like, when your feet are, just think about, when your feet are bleeding, you can't stand. So, I'd keep that, like, I knew somebody, friends with, like, on my track team, who did I think a 400 barefoot, and he like was drinking beer while he was doing it. So it's 1 lap around the track. And it was just awful. Like, well, that's also even worse than, it's probably the worst surface you could run on, because the whole point of a track is to have as much friction as possible. Like, that's what a track is made to do, so that you can get grip. So his feet just got completely shredded. So,
まあ、そもそもさ、これ健康に悪いと思うんだけど、なんか、だって、まあ、例えば、皮膚がさ、裂けちゃうじゃん？
Yeah.
そっからさ、あれじゃん。バクテリアとか入るじゃん。
Of course.
そっからまあ、インフェクションになるじゃん。感染ね。感染しちゃうとさ。やめた方がいいんじゃない？
No, I mean, I totally with the like testing your body thing. But the thing is, here's my take. This isn't good for any type of human that's ever existed. So what I mean with this, back in the day, like all cavemen, all the running in Africa, whatever, they're running on soft ground. They're not running on concrete and pavement.
So
if you're running on concrete and pavement, you need shoes. We literally built shoes for that. So like my thing is, if you want to run barefoot, doing it on like the ground and earth just seems so much better. But yeah, you keep up the fight, Shotguns. We'll be cheering you on.
個人的やめた方がいいですよ、もう。
Yeah, I'm cheering you on. If that's if you want to go through that brutal experience, go ahead.
精神鍛えられるわな。
That bell means we reached the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us in another lazy conversation towards fluency. If you have any language-related questions and or just looking for general advice, send an email to lazyfluency@gmail.com, and we might respond in the next episode. Also, make sure to check out our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and more. We'd appreciate the support. This has been Joey.
And Naomi.
Signing off. じゃあねー。
じゃあねー。